we've become extremely politically polarized. So only in the United States would a public health measure become a political issue.
It would be nice if, rather than people protesting to go back to work, if they were protesting for the government to, help pay for them to quarantine at home safely.
It's probably a gift that they can act like that because they haven't seen what we've seen.
If you don't think this is a serious disease and it is causing death and destruction, come and spend some time in an ICU, seeing the wards filled with ventilated patients alone.
I have had patients come in who don't know where to turn for true medical information because they have been fed lies in the media, lies from politicians, and lies from online social media platforms.
Asked my doctor about hydroxychloroquine. They weren't really that keen, so I prescribed it to myself in defiance and just took it anyway. I don't know if it helped.
The media portraying the benefits of hydroxychloroquine really made it difficult for us to practice medicine.
The head of the hospital sent this email saying that they didn't want people to prescribe hydroxychloroquine. And I immediately thought, I said, well, that's because you never got COVID. If you were COVID positive, you would have, you'd be taking that medicine.
I think that science is just generally not condoned by the current administration here. I think that everyone has gotten way out of hand with what their civil liberties and rights are.
You're welcome to punch me in the nose, but your freedom to do that ends the moment your fist touches my nose.
There are people running around in the street with guns. I'm like, what are you going to shoot? The virus? Honestly, what are you going to shoot this time?
Individualism and nationalism can severely impede progress.
If I see one more fucking post on Facebook of someone who thinks that this is a joke or that this is overblown or we don't need to wear a mask, you might have to pull me out of jail because I'm starting to get pretty mouthy.
You open the death notices here in Boston on the weekend and it's a volume. And it could be 20 pages of death notices. And those people have all died alone.
On a Wednesday, I went to an apartment. I went to pick up the mother. She died. A couple of days later, I went back for the son. He was on a ventilator and he was not expected to make it. My last day, I went back for the dad. And he refused to come out. He stuck his finger out the door and let me put the pulse ox on it. And sure enough, he was down in the low 50s. And he looked at me and I looked at him. And he's like, you need to be saving the people you can save. And I was like, what does that mean? I was like, we're here for you. And he's like, I'm going to die. My whole family is dead. He's like, you need to go find someone else that you can save. and he slammed the door. We went to our next call, and then we got called back, and he joined his family that day.
I knew that the mortality rates would be high, but it was worse than I expected. Of the 9 patients I took care of, only one of them made it out of the hospital.
It's different from flu, and people are dying on a ventilator in the numbers that we haven't seen with anything else.
You have to face the fact that maybe 50% of the patients will die.
We feel quite disappointed that we were either not able to predict that they were going to die, or not able to see them get better.
If somebody's been in the ICU for 45 or 50 days, the chance of them getting out is next to zero.
One of my very best friends, she phoned me crying. She was desperate. She said to me, Eva, they are letting my grandma die. And it was difficult for me because I had to, in a way, try to explain to her that they were not letting her die there, but actually she was dying.
You have the responsibility, you also carry the guilt, right? And so if a decision is right in the moment, but wrong in the long term, how do you live with that? How do you cope with that? How do you move forward? What do you do if you cost someone their life?
Sometimes you just cannot do anything, and you need to become okay with that.
In some ways, that's fine. If you think there's something more you could have done, then that's really, really tough.
If I sat there and cried with every patient that I lost, I wouldn't be able to effectively do my job. But there have been a few times where I've, just kind of lost it because I've had patients that were younger than me.
Literally, I had nothing but cardiac arrests for 10 days, and I sat there on every single call afterwards when I got home, and I would sit there and I would go over every single one and wonder if there was anything that I could have done differently.
Some of the best doctors and nurses I know do take the moment of silence for these patients. Any amount of deaths. I think that's so important.
I've been a paramedic for a long time, and coming to the realization during the coronavirus pandemic that it didn't matter what I was doing, I was not helping these people.
I had this man the other day, and he told me point blank, I don't want to be intubated. I want to go home and die at home. And what a completely reasonable thing to ask, right? You're in your 80s, you know that you're dying. But of course, I knew that was never going to happen. The family comes in and they override the wishes. And he just gave up. He just said, okay, intubate me. It was devastating because why couldn't this 80-something-year-old man go home and be made comfortable and be with his family? And he did die. And you know what? I was relieved for him that he didn't hang on for too long.
We don't avoid death, we just postpone it. What about how far are you prepared to go to save a life when it cannot be saved? So there's a huge pragmatic issue, but it's also a philosophical issue. And the philosophical issue is, how are we meant to die? What are the priorities? Clinging on or letting go? And as long as we're desperately clinging on as being the number one priority, then we're going to get it wrong. And we're going to deny people what they genuinely deserve.
Daryl and his wife, Audrey, lived in an assisted living facility. He died quietly, very quietly, at about 3 o'clock that morning with his wife laying in the bed next to him, which was kind of nice. But then I had to wake her up and tell her that her husband of 68 years was lying dead next to her. That's where they both stayed for the next few hours. It took that long for the funeral home to come. I would stand at the door of their bedroom and watch her turn her head every now and then and just glance over at his body. And she had a temp of 101.7 at that point, and she was not well. And there was nothing I could do. Absolutely fucking nothing I could do. I couldn't bring her family in. I couldn't make her feel better. I couldn't even technically give her a damn hug. But I did. It was really hard to know that her family couldn't be there. Everything about what I do was stolen from us that night. And I think that's the hardest part of this COVID shit, is that it steals away not only people's lives, but what's important to them spiritually, emotionally, from their families, and the people that are left behind are stuck with this fucking emptiness. And nobody truly dies alone in this world if you've got a nurse by your side, but it's still not family. It's still not family.